All right.
Hey.
Oh, you can tell by the mirth and merriment that it is Monday.
Yes.
The Baltimore Orioles are in town for the first of a 4-game series against Barker's Blue Jays.
I'll take them.
Ho-hum, they've called up another prospect. We'll talk to Gregg Olson, former Orioles closer, Orioles Hall of Famer, and ESPN color analyst about that later on in the show. We've got tickets to give away to see the Jays and O's at the Rogers Center this week. Buck Martinez, Jayson Stark as well. But Kevin, let's get to yesterday's 5-4 win. And well, the story of the day was the lineup. Now, first of all, I should tell you that the lineup is out for today's game, and Vladdy is catching. So I'm just kidding. Just everybody relax. No, the lineup is out today. Vladdy's back at first base.
We're going to try it. See if it works.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Got to get all those good bats in the lineup.
Yeah.
Vladdy's back at first base today. Daniel Vogelbach is hitting cleanup, as we all predicted in spring training. And so there you go. But yesterday, your guy, John Schneider, threw us a little bit of a curveball or a cambio.
You think that was all John?
Vladdy Jr. making his first start at third base since his rookie year in order to get Daniel Vogelbach and Justin Turner's bat.
Why are you laughing?
I'm sorry. It's just if you had told, if I had said in spring training that the Jays would be moving their one-time Gold Glove first baseman off of first base to third,
yeah,
so Daniel Vogelbach's bat could get in,
yep,
along with Justin Turner's, I would have laughed in your face.
No, I would not have. I would not have been shocked. I wish I would have laughed in your face.
Lord, man, I didn't think Daniel Vogelbach.
How the off seasons have went the last couple of years for the front office of the Toronto Blue Jays. This is not predictable. Like really, it's not like you couldn't raise your hand and go, you know what? I could probably see in game 50-something that Vladdy'd be playing third. So they could get Vogelbach and Turner.
This is the singularly stupidest thing.
Okay, that was about something else. I don't want
it fits
because I had said I asked you in spring training about Vladdy maybe playing third base. It is a position he broke in. He says it's his favorite position.
Yeah, I had a favorite position too. It's big leagues.
I mean, come on, they won 5-4. What do you want? They knocked out the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're 8-5. They're 8-5 in that 13-game portion of the schedule.
Well,
where you said they were going to go 11-2.
Well, they were 9-7 those 16 games against teams under 500. Now they're facing in the next 26 games. 23 of those 26 are against teams that are 500 or better. Yeah, so how do you think the season's going to go, Jeff, in the next 26 games? That's because the season is going to be dictated.
Depends on whether or not Daniel Vogelbach stays hot.
In the next 26 games.
But look, John Schneider was pretty clear. I mean, this is not going to be an everyday occurrence. But it's pretty apparent that it probably won't be the last time we see it unless, Ross Atkins makes a trade or something. Not happening.
Horowitz.
Or Spencer Horowitz comes up.
DFA somebody.
You may want, Spencer Horowitz, you may want to wait till he's 28 or 29 to bring him up full time in the majors. Let him get a little more experience. Let him get a little more experience down there at AAA.
Got no place for him.
And don't forget Joey Votto's still around.
Savior.
I don't know why. All I can think of is Uncrustables. Anyhow, look, here's the thing. The difference between being a first baseman and third baseman. Okay, they call third base the hot corner.
Yeah.
Explain to me, as someone who has played first base, the different look. Like, if Vladdy is going to play there a couple more times, what is he going to have to adapt to at third base?
Just have a good conversation with the khakis. I mean, I think that's where it starts.
Oh, good enough.
Just tell me.
Vladdy spend more time with the khakis.
Just tell me where to stand. That's all I want to know, and everything else will take care of itself.
How many guys is it going to take him to tell Vladdy where to stand?
Well, I mean, there's a plethora of them, so I would assume quite a few people are going to give information to Vladdy on where to stand. Look, I think if he'd never
cackified.
There you go. I think if he'd never played it before, this would be a big deal. Footwork and where he's going to stand, and I'm sure they're having batting practice and infield practice and all kinds of things to make him feel comfortable over there. Again, his accuracy and his arm strength, I mean, it's on point. He's got a stronger arm than anybody on the field. Yep. I mean, let's be honest. He's got a rocket.
He's got decent hands.
Yeah. It's just where he stands. It's side to side. It's up and back. It's, it's first move. It's fast twitch muscles. I mean, I'm not sure he's got all those things, but they ain't asking him to do that. I don't think they care about defense anymore, which is... Boy, a whole different thing when it's that run prevention. Oh, boy. I mean,
I was getting so excited about run prevention.
Yeah, it has been fun to watch, Jeff. I mean,
great.
For the first 50-ish games, it's been
really
it's
good.
been must watch.
Lots of guys diving for balls.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I thought, to answer your question, I don't think it really matters. I think he's a good enough athlete, and they do have enough smart people that will put him in the right spot where he's not moving a ton because of
you don't want
swing
him to move
path
a ton too.
and break on secondary stuff from the guy standing on the mound. That
why do I just see Vladdy breaking something at third?
Why?
Base?
Why would you say that?
This has just got bad karma.
I'm almost in the camp to where you took me to arbitration. You haven't paid me. Why would I move to third? I'm almost in the you wouldn't have a little conversation. Now, it sure does sound like that Vladdy raised his hand and was like, "Hey, I've taken enough ground balls over here. I feel comfortable. I'm not afraid. If you want to get the extra bat in the order, I'll be glad to move to third for the team." But if you're really Vladdy and you're his agent, are you doing that?
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure I would. I mean, I think they might be a little past the team kind of thing, and where they're at in the standings. And
this also gets to your point too about it's not Vladdy's fault that the lineup was badly put together.
No.
So you're basically taking Vladdy out of his comfort zone because
front office didn't do a good job the last two off seasons. Let's be honest. Let's say it like it is. That's basically what this has come down to. And that's the first time I saw that after I yelled at my wife and asked her if this was a misprint. Did somebody mess this up? And she said no. And then the first thing I thought of was, hey, let's stay hot this two off seasons.
So, Ross Atkins spoke to MLB Network Radio yesterday. We'll get to that in a few minutes. But
not trading Bo and Vladdy, huh?
Yeah, right.
That's what he said.
Well, it's just nothing.
Oh, he said that.
I said in my column today, nothing different than what he said all along. The only thing that was missing is normally he always adds, there has to be some element of shared risk. There's nothing different. It either means, this is what I wrote today, either means one of a couple of things. One, the offers for Vladdy and Bo haven't been that great. Two, they're going to take a run at signing them in the offseason because some money is going to be cleared. And maybe Orioles Martinez is ready. Maybe that gives you a cheap bat. Maybe you can sign one of them without going over the luxury tax. Again, I'm trying to, throw that out there. Or three, Mark's contract is up at the same time Vladdy and Bo's contract is up. Ross's contract is up the year after. Maybe it's just, you know what? We're not going to be any better for the next 2 years if we trade Bo or Vladdy, probably. So let's just ride it out, and whoever's coming in next can clean it up. I don't think that's the case because
You don't?
No, because I do believe there's an element of stewardship and best practices about this front office. I don't think any front office would necessarily think that way. I'm sure the conspiracy theorists will think that way, but I don't think that the approach of these two guys is going to be, well, what the hell? We've been here for 8 years. Let someone.
I'm not sure it's to that extent, but actions speak louder than words, and actions have told us the last 2 years offensively they have not gotten better, and they need to get better. Why haven't they gotten better?
I wanted to talk about Jimmy Garcia too, because the other thing that happened this weekend. Again, the Jays did take 2 or 3 from the Pirates. Getting buggy whipped 8-1 on Saturday.
Well, they were an out. George Springer out in the 11th inning on Friday from going down 2-0 and losing that series.
Yes,
so
yes.
this is not just let's lean back here and enjoy the beating.
No,
that ain't happening.
Jordan Romano's gone for a while. Who knows how long. There was no structural damage in his elbow. That's good news. Jimmy Garcia obviously is going to be the guy who's going to get the call. Now, they used him yesterday against the Pirates. They've got 4 against the Orioles coming up. I'm going to ask you this. I don't think Jimmy Garcia is going to close out 4 games in a row. If they are close games, again, there's no guarantee they're going to be close, but you know where I'm going with this.
Uh-huh.
How does John manage the back end of that bullpen? Because I can't imagine that Jimmy Garcia is going to be available all those days.
Pockets. I mean, you knew the word. You know what the answer was. Like that's how they've been doing it forever.
Yeah.
There's a couple of guys there, right? They got their 9th inning guy. They got their hybrid 8th inning guy when the game's on the line. He could pitch the 7th inning. He could pitch the 8th inning. I mean, they have a lot more confidence in Chad Green than I do. Like again, we saw his last outing there. When fastball command's not there, you got to sort of hold your breath on what you're going to get. Now, when he's got the lane at the belt, which is what he did after the first 2 hitters, yeah, you can understand why he's a little bit better. And then he starts sprinkling in the slider and, can add and subtract and play the little back and forth game. It's deception, right? It's how big he is. It's how the late life on the tunneling at the belt fastball sort of gives him the advantage. Do you trust that meat of the order coming up and say the 9th inning with the game on the line, up a run against the Orioles? I think right now I don't know if they have a choice, Jeff. Like I think it's more pockets, and they will match up, right? Righties, lefties. How many righties are coming up? The obvious names are going to get more righties. The 2 lefties are going to get the couple of lefties. Like, is there one guy down there in Jimmy Garcia who's going to get whoever he's going to get in that inning? And then there's everybody else. And I think Chad Green, for me anyway, you can throw in that camp of everybody else. So,
all righty.
Better be real good at that pocket thing. And again, it gets back to what they're doing with Vladdy and moving them around and trying to get everybody in the lineup they can possibly get in there to hopefully somebody catches fire.
We know tomorrow's starter is still TBA. Shai Davidi just reporting that, first of all, he's reporting that apparently Joey Votto is still with the organization. What did he say? I'm only saying that half facetiously. He's still taking live at bats and working through a running progression. No time frame yet for him to get into game action. Kind of sounds like you. Yariel Rodriguez is scheduled to pitch out of the bullpen Wednesday with AAA Buffalo. The Jays want to keep him stretched out and wanted him to come out of the bullpen at least once. He's going to throw 55 pitches, 3 to 4 ups and downs. What else is there? Jordan Romano had an anti-inflammatory injection in his right elbow. He'll be off throwing.
Yeah, it's never good.
He'll be off throwing 3 to 5 days. So there you are. That is the latest on the Blue Jays from Shai Davidi. Well, we mentioned this at the start of the show. The general manager of the Blue Jays, Ross Atkins, spoke to MLB Network Radio yesterday and covered a couple of topics, specifically Bo and Vladdy and the trade rumors surrounding them, and also the manager, John Schneider. So let's go to the first clip. This is Ross Atkins talking about Bo, Vladdy, and the trade rumors surrounding them.
Both of them, especially the month of May, have been very solid. Vladdy's been exceptional in May. He had a slow start, some swing adjustments for him that he is in a really, really strong place. And as I mentioned, Bo had a strong May, and that's going to continue. Both of them just have such good feel for the barrel and such good feel for competing in the batter's box that they're going to perform. On the second part of that, on extension, of course, we have dialogue with them, and that is something that will continue. We believe in them. We believe in their futures and hope that there's a way they can play here for a long time. And then on the third part, the question of potential trade, it just doesn't make any sense for us. Oftentimes, not often, there will be occasional times as you're talking to other executives that they'll ask if we'll consider. And we just say it's not something that we have spent any time on. But because they're so talented and such great teammates, they are attractive to other teams, so they will call. I was disappointed to see a report that was something that another executive had commented on about our team, but it just doesn't make sense. So really excited about what's ahead for them and how well they've played in May. Really going to be a lot of fun today to see Vladdy playing third base. I don't know if you saw that in the lineup yet, but that's been something we've been working on collectively, and he'll get some starts there. He's got an incredible, just ability and knack for the baseball, or feel for baseball and for the game, that I think his arm and his hands are going to allow him, for him to play some third base for us. And that's something that another way for us to deploy a lineup that maybe creates a little more offense. So a lot of good things happening, and confident they'll continue.
All right. Was Ross Atkins, general manager of the Toronto Blue Jays. And again, we've had no indication that any movement has been made on negotiating extensions for Bo or Vladdy, who are free agents at the end of next season. And indeed, I would argue at some point, if you're not going to sign them, you've got to try to leverage them into things that will help you keep the next window open. But beyond that, that's like I can tell you that's essentially what Ross Atkins says anytime he's been asked about an extension for Bo or Vladdy going back 3 or 4 years ago. Barker, you were going to say something?
Yeah, look, I mean, the exceptional thing with Vladdy, he's hit, like, I saw some stat where he's hit since April 27, 2 homers and had 16 RBIs. Like, that's not exceptional. He's hit in the middle of the order. With Bo, swings at too many pitches. Like, every once in a while, not all the time, every once in a while, call a spade a spade. That I think is the frustrating part. I get the behind-the-scenes conversations. He should never tell us about contracts and conversations, and we shouldn't care. But the part of the thing where the meat of the order and when they don't get it done, and just how the performance looks when a fan of that team is watching, every once in a while, Jeff, that's all. Not all the time, because I understand you are leading the team and you need to be behind your best players. But occasionally, your best players need to hear the truth, and the truth is, exceptional is a bit strong.
Although so Ross Atkins stands guilty of talking up his players.
He's got one of the worst lineups in baseball.
But the point is,
offensively,
it does him no good to talk down his players. I mean, regardless
there's
of
a way of saying it without actually saying it. We do it all the time. I mean,
yeah, but you don't
let's not lie about it.
Yeah, but
I mean, he's talking to a fan base.
He's paid to be better than us.
Yeah, what?
But again, he's not going to. You don't crap on the value of your own players. We've had GMs who've done that here in the past.
Yeah, it's not crapping on it. It's telling the truth. And occasionally you can go, I'd like to see Vladdy maybe make a couple of more adjustments, give him at least a chance to hit some more balls in the air, because we're really going to need him here sooner than later. Yeah. Like the next 26 games are very important to us. Meat of the order. We've liked what he's done so far. We'd like to see a little bit more.
At this point, it's irrelevant, because there's nothing Ross Atkins can say that this fan base is going to take.
You might be right.
It's just
yeah.
He was also asked about John Schneider, and I think he gave him a vote of confidence. I think.
Yeah. I totally understand why people have to ask questions and do ask questions, but they're not for a second. John has been incredible. He is at the forefront of our environment and has worked tirelessly over the off season on our players understanding that they are the most crucial part of this environment, and how we can support them in a better way and lead them, of course, in the most effective way for them to be great. And the support and that he has created with our staff, their process for preparing, and their consistency that they have with our players has been phenomenal. And I just don't believe in change to change and change to, for the sake of trying something different. We have to be better. I do not feel that John Schneider has been anything but a part of the solution, and will continue to be. So understand that you have to ask those questions, but it's just not something that we spent any energy on.
Yeah, Ross Atkins' aversion to change will come as a surprise to John Gibbons and Charlie Montoyo.
You had to say.
Well,
it.
I had. What am I going to say?
You're better than that.
Not really. No. No, I'm not. Not on a Monday. Whoa. What the hell is that?
That's the bus.
Oh, the bus. No.
Oh, there goes the bus.
Yeah, we got to shelve the bus. No, on a Monday, I'm definitely not better than that on a Monday.
Not on a Monday?
Hell no. I'm just not.
Okay.
I'm just not.
I agree with him.
Listen,
John has nothing to do with talent.
What is one thing the Orioles, the Yankees, the Red Sox, and the Rays have all done that the Jays haven't done? They've stuck with managers. Now, Aaron Boone's been fired at least 3 times in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Alex Cora had the year's suspension. Kevin Cash, is part of the underground city. He may not even be a human being. He may just be like some sort of no. I mean in a good way. He may be some sort of cyborgish thing. Anyhow.
Yep.
And Brandon Hyde
has earned the right to see this.
Earned the right to see this.
Absolutely.
So those 4 teams have had a lot of stability in the manager's office, and look, I understand Ross inherited John Gibbons, and John Gibbons was going to be fired at some point that year. He just was. But Charlie Montoyo was the guy that Ross Atkins hired, and it was a pick that was a little out of left field, you might say.
Yeah.
We don't know. We know that people like David Bell interviewed for the job, and I think Brandon Hyde interviewed for the job, and Rocco Baldelli may have. I don't know if he interviewed for the job, but they were on the list of candidates.
Interesting.
And then, of course, Charlie Montoyo was fired halfway through 2 seasons ago, and John Schneider came in. And I've said time and again, I don't think the way baseball is currently run, the way baseball teams are currently run, I just don't think any of us can say with certainty where the manager's responsibilities begin and where they end. And by extension, I don't think you can sit there and realistically say, hey, the manager is at fault for this. Do you think that John Schneider woke up in February morning before spring training and said, man, I hope I can put Daniel Vogel back in and have Vladdy at third base, and that's what I want? No, he didn't do that. I guarantee you at no point did he do that.
Let me ask you a question.
He's working with the hand he was dealt. So, at some point we got to start saying, all right, this instability, first of all, they haven't won anything during this period of instability. Secondly, you've got 3 pretty different personalities. Think about the 3 different guys. John Gibbons, Charlie Montoyo, and John Schneider. Those are kind of 3 different personalities.
All over the place, yeah.
And it worked.
After the moving Vladdy to third, say they try this for however many times they're going to try it. Say then the next 26 games they're under 500, and then what? What do you do now? Does it matter? I mean, basically, are they at the point now they've almost tried everything? I mean, there's 57 days until the trade deadline. 57 days. Those 26 games against the teams, 23 of those are above 500. 13 of those games are against teams that are in first place.
I'm going to go.
Like rubber's met the road a little here.
But I'm also going to go on the fence here and say I need to have a clear understanding of what Jordan Romano's status is going to be going forward. Because if Jordan Romano isn't going to be able to close for this team, then you're in a real crackerjack situation. Because Jimmy Garcia is the guy that you could probably get a fair amount for at the deadline. He's a potential free agent. You say Kikuchi's another guy, but you're not going to have Alek Manoah. You're already trying. You've got no depth at AAA. You're already looking at possibly trying to piece something together with Bowden Francis and Yariel Rodriguez. So I need to see where Jordan Romano is in this whole equation and where the Jays are when Jordan Romano's ready to return before I make that decision. And look, it's not like they're double digits out of the wild card spot now. We talked about this. It's amazing how things change. That's what this wild card has done. Look at the St. Louis Cardinals, dead and buried. 2 weeks ago, everybody was ready to fire Ollie Marmol.
Yeah, I mean, they were 9-7 against teams that were under 500 over the 16-game span. Like, you would have thought offensively that where you get a little healthy, right? You start scoring more runs. You take pressure off of all the names you just mentioned, and especially the manager and the pitching coach to try and make the right move, right? They say they got Chad Green back. He seems to be able to self-correct on the mound now, and maybe he'll give you some more quality at the back end. It's about the score and run part. That's my point here is I think they're trying to come up with solutions. What else can they try other than bring up Horowitz? And if they do bring up Horowitz, is it just me? Well, he hit the top of the order. Am I missing something here? But the names that they already have here, where's he hitting? Like, I mean, he'll hit 6th, 7th, 8th.
Listen, I think when you bring him up, you're just looking for somebody who's going to get on base, maybe make a little bit of contact. I don't expect any power out of him. But again, why I get back to this, and this is something, and Buck Martinez will join us later on in the show. Buck made this point. Why exactly do you have a AAA team? Is it just to give guys, just to make sure the pitchers get their innings in? Like, seriously, why exactly do you have a AAA team? Don't you want to see what Spencer Horowitz can do in an extended run in the majors? I do. Otherwise, why are you keeping him around here? He's not 23 years old. It's not like his development is going to be hurt by coming up to the majors. Look, what did I tell you when we came in today? Phillies, Braves. You seen how many teams are making moves right now? Not big moves, but how many teams are going out and signing guys, picking guys up off waivers, filling in around the edges, right? Have you seen how many teams are doing that? The good teams are doing that too. Some of them, like the Orioles, are bringing up prospects.
Yeah, I mean, you had to stink for a while to do what the Orioles are doing. That's a little different. But the other ones, I think everybody that's a fan of the Jays gets what you're saying. Yeah. And we get what you're saying.
It's just I just don't think like they're treating this lineup and their minor league system like they're the freaking crown jewels or something. Meanwhile, everybody else in baseball thinks the minor league system isn't very good and looks at the lineup and just kind of shrugs and go, what the hell's wrong with Vladdy? So, maybe 29 other teams are just stupid. Maybe 29 other teams are playing checkers and these guys are playing chess. I don't know. Anyhow, Gregg Olson's a former Orioles closer. He is a member of the Orioles Hall of Fame. He's an ESPN color analyst. He'll join us next. It's Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590, The Fan and Sportsnet. 7:07 will be the first pitch tonight, the first of 4 games between the Baltimore Orioles and the Toronto Blue Jays, including an afternoon game on Thursday. Barker and Blair will be doing Blue Jays talk following every game, and on Thursday, we'll be doing our TV radio post-game show. So you got the Stanley Cup Finals don't start until
McJesus, holy moly! Like I'm not a big hockey guy, as you well know, but man, I might think about buying a ticket to watch that. That's unbelievable.
I hope Edmonton gets their ass kicked. I mean, seriously, listen, and nobody who grew up in
I don't care. I'm just telling you.
Nobody who grew up in Winnipeg or worked in Calgary, nobody there wants Edmonton to win. Nobody there wants Edmonton to win. I mean, they just don't.
You poor Jets fan.
They just don't.
You poor
Jets fan. Paul
fan.
Maurice, the Florida Panthers.
Man.
I really don't care who wins it.
I don't either. I was just watching him, and
I don't care who wins it, but I'd like to see Edmonton lose it. Does that make sense?
Not whatsoever. But you're better than that.
No, I'm not. I'm not. There's a little bit of breaking news involving a major league. And San Diego. It says San Diego Padres infielder Tucupita Marcano reportedly facing a lifetime ban for betting on baseball. This has been reported by the Wall Street Journal. Now, San Diego Padres infielder, he is Padres property. I don't think he's played a game this year. No, he hasn't. He had a right ACL injury last season. And according to the report, he bet on Pirates games last year when he was with the Pirates, only after he went down with the injury. So there you go. He declined comment. He's got a career-high 233 batting average, or he had a career-high 233 batting average last year with the Pirates. 18 ribbies, 47 hits, 3 home runs in 75 games. He could hit cleanup for this team. He tore his ACL in late July, and there you go. Yeah. If this report holds true, he is done, and it is still the third rail in Major League Baseball. 24-year-old guy, I know from talking to people in other sports that one of the concerns surrounding the growth of legalized wagering is not so much what you're necessarily going to see at the professional level. I mean, at the major league level, whether it's the NBA, the NHL, or whatever, because by and large, those guys are making decent money. It's at the minor league level where I think you're going to see more. You're going to see more issues. One, because the players don't make that much money. Mm-hmm. 2, because it's easier to get access to them and when they're on a minor league team. Mm-hmm. And 3, because, if you look at the world of soccer, the amount of money gambled on mediocre soccer leagues, people will gamble on bad. It doesn't have to be an elite sport for people to gamble.
That's money.
So, there is that possibility is always there. Anyhow. Took a
big giant sign in every clubhouse that says no exceptions.
First thing it says.
You bet on baseball, you are out.
Yeah. Well, it wouldn't be a week, the Major League season, to go by without the Baltimore Orioles bringing up another prospect. I don't know if they necessarily anticipated bringing up Connor Norby, who is their number 6 prospect for MLB Pipeline. I don't know if they necessarily expected to bring him up or necessarily wanted to bring him up. He comes up to replace Jorge Mateo, who was placed on the 7-day concussion injured list after being unintentionally hit in the head with Cedric Mullins' bat in Sunday's loss to the Rays. If you saw that on social media, it was really scary and something that I'm always amazed doesn't happen more often. Gregg Olson is a former Orioles closer. He is a member of the Orioles Hall of Fame. He's also an ESPN color analyst, and he was on the Orioles broadcast last week for the Baltimore-Boston series, joining us on Blair and Barker. Greg, thank you very much for joining us. We trust that you're keeping well. So, what should we expect tonight from Connor Norby? I have to admit, of all the Orioles prospects that I've seen or read about, I probably know the least about him.
Well, you guys are going to hate me. I have no idea. I've never seen him.
Okay.
I just moved. I've just been doing the Tallahassee Regional, and so I've completely locked on college baseball and been doing college baseball for the most part, and then jumped on and bounced over to do 3 games last week. So I apologize. I haven't seen him.
No. So what do the Orioles people make of how they are going to go about sort of getting these guys into the major leagues at the right time? I mean, we've talked about this in the past that, not just necessarily with the Orioles, but with teams in general, there is an art to making sure that, 1, guys don't get backlogged, 2, that you put guys in a position where they can contribute. And it seems to me as if the Orioles, I mean, they do have an assembly line here, and they're going to have to be careful, I think, insofar as how they break these guys in.
That one, I totally agree. It's pretty amazing, as you said, the backlog that they have going right now, and it's one of the things that you got to keep an eye on. You might look for somebody that it might be a great prospect, but might not be a fit with what you got in the major leagues, and so then you got trade material for filling a spot in another area that you might need. So I would probably look at it that way of using some of this as trade material so that below the line keeps moving as well and it doesn't get stagnated behind a really top prospect.
Greg, I don't think any team in baseball that's perfect. I don't think the Orioles are perfect. In your mind, what is the biggest weakness or worry with the Orioles that they think could sort of derail what they're trying to do at the end of the season?
That's a good question. Oh yeah, I mean, I'm looking around and they got the depth. You know, you got Hayes that's not even in the lineup, and you look at what's sitting on the bench, and you're going, all right, you know, I mean, pretty solid bench. So if I had to throw something, I'd probably right now throw, you know, middle relief, getting to Cano and Kimbrel is my best guess. You know, and you can always, you know, everybody can always have another high-powered arm at the back end of the bullpen.
Greg, you know, here in Toronto, Jordan Romano is out, hopefully for a brief period of time right now. It's a second stint on the IL with an elbow issue. Huh. You know, and we've kind of talked about here anyhow about what impact that has on a bullpen when the closer goes down, and how, you know, especially now with the three batter rule, the minimum 3 batter rule. It's just you've almost got to pick pockets to use your relievers. And you know, people say, well, a closer goes down, everybody's got to step up, and it's not really that easy though, is it? Because you'd be a perfect person to ask here. There's still something about closing out a game, right? There's still something about closing out a game, and I don't think necessarily everybody's built for it.
No, they're not, and you know, hesitate to name names, but there are just guys that are 8th inning guys and are better with an anchor behind them, and just frees them up a little bit more. It's really difficult to explain, but it's a thing, and you know, Romano goes down, and then all of a sudden you got to move the next guy back, or you try to go by committee. And I just feel like committees kind of fail because, you know, unless you know specifically exactly what is going on and what's going to happen as a reliever, then I feel like there's some uncertainty. You know, I always needed to be prepared and get away from everything, take an inning, 2 innings to just, you know what the situation is coming up and what I'm going to be walking into, and prepare for that situation. And sometimes I feel like the committees, it's just, you know, nobody knows who anybody is and what's, you know, exactly what's going on. And it's hard to communicate that. So that's always been my problem. And if you've got like Baltimore lost Batista last year, Cano moves back there, and he wasn't as good as he was in the 8th inning. It's hard to explain, but it's weird.
Greg, with Gunnar Henderson, you know, when I watch him, I didn't realize that he was 19 homer, 42 RBI, 8 stolen base good. Like, I knew he was good. But this good, this soon in his career, is there something you see that just sort of points out that, man, on an everyday basis, good luck getting him out, and he's only going to grow and get better?
I think he really is only going to grow and get better. He, you know, when I caught him at the Boston series, I think he got 1 hit.
Yeah.
Was real quiet, you know, still played unbelievable defense. And it's really hard to fathom that, you know, second year in the big leagues, you're going, okay, where can all this go? And I hesitate to sit there and put a cap on it, because you don't know where it can go. He's just figuring things out. I mean, you know, everybody says the light switch kind of comes on at about 25, or after a couple of years in the big leagues, you start the smartness and the intuition and everything else starts kind of clicking in. And if that, you know, feeds with the talent, there's no telling what's going to happen.
Crystal ball, who do you think has a better career, Adley or Gunnar?
Ooh.
Wow, that's a good one. I'm going to go Gunnar. I don't have an explanation. I'm just
eyeball test. I'll tell you that. That's what you're saying. Eyeball test.
What's that?
The eyeball test,
eyeball
right?
Test.
Playing short and that kind of thing.
Golly, yeah, but yeah, I mean, you know what Adley's doing behind the plate. It's, it's another one. You got a switch hitting power, hitting catcher that's really, really good defensively. And that's the funny thing. It's like, I'm not even necessarily just talking about offense. Both of those guys, their defense is above average, and Gunner's borderline elite. So, that with the offensive numbers, and it's the two pretty good guys that they've gotten in back-to-back drafts.
Okay, let me ask it to you this way. In the ninth inning, bases loaded, 2 outs, who would you rather not see up and have to face between the two? Easier to pitch to is sort of my question, I think.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of running through and thinking everything I saw. They'd both come up against me left-handed. I think I would probably rather, you know what? Man, I don't know.
Hard. Well, they got it's behemoths, man. I think that's the point, right? And the Orioles are going to be real good for a long time. I think that's your point.
Yeah.
They're going to be a handful.
They are, the way they've been drafting and what they got in the minor league system running through. And I mean, I'm shocked at how fast Holiday made it through the system, to even get a big league look this year. And it doesn't matter, you can say whatever you want about he's overmatched. I'm going, that's a year away that he got drafted out of high school, not college.
Yeah.
High school.
Hey,
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you've done a lot of NCAA games. I'm going to ask you this. Best hitter and best pitcher you've seen this year? College.
Let's see. Best hitter, probably Charlie Condon with Georgia. Best pitcher, I think I just saw him down in the FSU regional playing for FSU, is Jamie Arnold.
Mm-hmm.
Hagen Smith had a really good year. I felt like I don't know how that's going to translate, but Jamie Arnold's, a shorter version of the look that Randy Johnson brought.
Really?
Minus about 3 miles an hour. This kid's 95, 97. Same angled slider, lefty, just a sophomore, so he won't be in the draft for a year.
Hey, it's funny because obviously one of the big topics of conversation in baseball has been velocity. And, I mean, there's a debate, as you well know, at this level about velocity versus quote-unquote pitchability is something that Chris Bassett talks about. How much of that debate is going on in the college level right now? Or is it still, is there room for a guy at the college level, Greg, who can just quote-unquote pitch and maybe not necessarily light up the radar gun?
I don't. I was doing SEC stuff all year, and there's a couple guys that'll be 88 to 90. Most of them are left-handed. I just saw a couple with like UCF. Stetson had all of them were about that level. I think there is. I just watched somebody. I'm brain locked. I just saw 7 games in 3 days. But we just had a lefty that was 87 and just cut it, sunk it, changed it, and he carved it up. And I probably spent, the better part of his 4 innings of work going, this guy's not getting drafted.
Yeah.
Because, he doesn't light up the radar gun. And I think it's a shame. I understand it because you get a little bit more wiggle room with the velocity. But I just, it's kind of hard to watch sometimes at the big league level of guys just coming in and going loud noise towards home plate. And you just look at it and you're like, you're just broadsiding the barn and the slider's moving, give or take 2 or 3 inches.
Yep.
And it's like a little wrinkle. And if you leave it in the wrong spot, it's getting hammered. I just like, I'm not seeing it. I don't see guys trying to go sides of the plate and move the ball up and down and take a little bit off and put a little bit on. And it's just, I don't see it. I mean, I know there are guys that are doing it. I'm just saying sometimes it's a little bit hard to watch,
Yep.
I think everybody from my era in the 80s, 90s, I could have went up there and, broadsided a barn and had a lot of loud noise. But, I would have been beaten.
Mm-hmm.
Guys in the middle of the plate, Frank Thomas, Joe Carter, Paul Molitor, let me go through your whole Blue Jays lineup. And it's like, I wouldn't have lasted long.
Yeah.
I had to find a way to get ahead with some, a good located fastball, and then find a way to, get these guys outside the zone, because you can't get them out inside the zone.
Greg, really good of you to join us today, man. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Greg.
Good insight.
My pleasure.
Be well, man.
My pleasure.
Gregg Olson, former Orioles closer, Hall of Famer, ESPN color analyst. And then Charlie Condon is that he mentioned for George is a top 10. Going to go in the top 10. I believe Jonathan Mayo may have had him going as high as second. It's interesting because I thinking back to our conversation with Derek Shelton, the Pirates manager, on Friday, and one of the things he said was how having Wes Johnson as a manager for Paul Skeens at LSU made a difference, because Wes Johnson had been a major league pitching coach.
Sure.
So he said essentially Paul Skeens' college development came at the hands of somebody who had just come from the majors and was really up to date with how things are done in the majors. That was interesting with Greg said. I wonder how many former pitchers can't watch a full game now, because there's the stuff that they used to appreciate about their art. It's got very little currency anymore.
Yeah, I think they had to work harder. Like, they don't have to work as hard now. Like, if you tell me that I can throw 97 and I don't have to locate that, it makes it easier for me to go and figure out how to throw 97 consistently. I can go to all of these places that teach you how to do that. And, if I got a long toss with a medicine ball, I'll long toss with a medicine ball and, do it in shorter spurts and get paid more money to do less. Like, I would think that's what they're more chapped about than the actual watching the game and going, man, that guy don't add and subtract, trickery. And, he's not trying to set him up. You know why he doesn't? Because he doesn't have to, because of how hard they throw and how long their secondary stuff tunnels and how quickly you have to make up your mind as a hitter and how they can trick you when it just comes to how much harder you throw consistently than they used to throw. So I would think that part of it, at least if I were a pitcher, I'd be more chapped about that, because I could make, the money easier, quicker, and not have to work as hard to get a good big league hitter out. So, yeah, it's intriguing. I just don't see pitchers making a lot of money anymore. It's more about the thrower, right?
It is indeed.
Yeah.
We have Jays Orioles tickets to give away in the next hour. Jayson Stark will join us as well, and Buck Martinez, our Blue Jays TV analyst. 7:07 is the first pitch tonight. It is the Jays against the Baltimore Orioles. And again, the pitching matchups: Grayson Rodriguez against Kevin Gossman tonight. Corbin Burns on the mound for the Orioles in Game 2. TBD for the Blue Jays: Albert Suarez against Jose Barrios on Wednesday. And on Thursday, and again, this is an afternoon start on Thursday, Kyle Bradish against Yusei Kikuchi. And a reminder that we will be doing Blue Jays talk following every Blue Jays game this week. And we'll be doing the TV/radio version of Blue Jays talk as well following Thursday afternoon's game between the two teams. And I would imagine there'll be a ton of kids out at that game. That is the noisy game. That is the noisiest game of the year, without question. Jayson Stark of The Athletic will join us next. He just got back from holidays. Buck Martinez as well. Jays Orioles tickets, don't go anywhere. It's Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590, The Fan, Sportsnet. All right, welcome back to Blair and Barker for a Monday on Sportsnet 590, The Fan, and Sportsnet. 7:07 will be the first pitch tonight. Jays and the Baltimore Orioles come into town for a 4-game series. You got that look in your face.
Well, it's the 4 games. I've told you this. It's the talent thing of it, right? It's, manager's good on a year for about 5 or 6 or 7 wins, right? And then it's my talent against your talent. And when you have 4-game series, that's when the khakis go, oh, you don't like that? Now your talent shows up, right? So this is where we're going to find out just how talented that lineup for the Jays is. We're going to see.
I'm afraid of that. Jayson Stark of The Athletic and the MLB Network joins us on Blair and Barker. Welcome back from holidays.
Yeah, I was in Italy, boys.
Ooh,
great to be back.
Jealous.
Yeah, no
great to be back on your show. I don't know if it's great to be back from Italy. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's not a bad place to go.
No, I've never been. I want to go. My wife's been bugging me to go forever. I should take her.
Magical.
Yeah, I hear the food sucks, eh?
Yeah, that's a real problem. You probably hate pasta too, don't you?
Yeah, no, I would be in my glory. I would be in my glory there. Hey, I'm glad we have you on because one of we have a lot we want to talk about. Obviously, it's Rob Thompson's 2-year anniversary. We want to talk about Aaron Judge and the Blue Jays, but you wrote an article on Friday about Satchel Paige, and we've talked a little bit about the decision by Major League Baseball, not the decision by baseball. I'm going to say baseball in general to start incorporating Negro League stats into the record book. And, I think it's something that I assumed was going to happen eventually. I think we know enough about Rob Manfred, Jason, that when committees are struck and stuff is put in motion, at some point it's going to be addressed. But, I've heard people say two things about it. One, it's great that these great players are starting to get individual recognition. Two, there are some people who are saying, hey, let's keep in mind the history of this, or let's not try to just brush that aside and forget about why these guys weren't allowed to play in the majors. And I can see both sides. But there's also just the idea of where you're getting your information from and how you're getting your information. Can you just talk a little bit? Just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, this was a really fascinating story that I wrote, and I'll tell you how it came about. All right, Major League Baseball makes the announcement last week, and it was greeted by, I think, pretty much universal acclaim as a wonderful thing for baseball to do. And so I have a friend, Dirk Lammers. He runs a site called no-hitters.com. And he's basically a no-hitter historian. If you ever want to know anything about no-hitters, no-hit bids, you go to his site. It's amazing. So he dropped me a note and he said, hey, could you just find out how many Negro League no-hitters they're planning to add to the official records, just so I know for my site? Does that seem like a simple question? It does, right? Except when I asked it, I learned something that I didn't even know. They've added career records to the official record book. They've added season records to the official record book. They haven't added any game records. So no 4-homer games, no cycles.
Oh, okay. Right.
And the part of it that he asked about and that I wrote about was no-hitters. And here's the best example of why this project is so hard. Satchel Paige. Okay, so Satchel Paige is a legend. Used to tell people he threw either 55 no-hitters or 50 no-hitters, depending on the day in the audience, okay? So I just asked the Elias Sports Bureau and people who have done the research and are members of the committee, hey, how many of those are going to be added to the record book? Because like 55 would be almost 8 times as many no-hitters as Nolan Ryan. It'd be pretty impressive, right? So after talking to them all day, nobody was sure if the answer was 55, 50, 5, 2, or none. And you know why? Because they're working with such incomplete information. They don't have every box score. They have almost no complete play-by-play data of any game, right? There's very few newspaper accounts of any of these games. And so there's all of that to contend with. And then you have another question with Satchel Paige where, all right, we have 2 no-hitters that we know he pitched, but if Major League Baseball just wants to count the no-hitters that are played in quote-unquote league play. We don't know if any of his count. Here's one that I found out about, okay? 4th of July, 1934. He threw one of his most legendary games, 17 strikeout no-hitter against one of the giants of Negro League Baseball, the Homestead Grays. But the Grays, the Homestead Grays, had basically gone rogue that year, okay? They withdrew from the Negro National League, and they were playing as an independent team. They were like Notre Dame football or something, right?
Right.
So he threw this no-hitter against the Homestead Grays and struck out 17. 7 Hall of Famers played in this game. 10,000 people came to the game in Pittsburgh because it was the 4th of July and it was the Homestead Grays. But it didn't happen in a game that will count in the standings of any league. So baseball has to decide, did that game actually happen? Is this incredible or what? Like, baseball will have to make a call on this game and so many other games and feats, not just involving Satchel Paige, but literally everyone else who ever played in the Negro League in any form, because these leagues, guys, they came and went. Not one league existed for the entirety of this period where they're counting the records. And so many of these teams were independent teams or played just anybody who came along, and you've got to decide game by game, should this count? And the records are incomplete. Tell me how they're going to do this. I don't know.
No, it's that's one of the things. The more reading you do on this, like I will admit that I just assumed that eventually this is going to happen, but I'd be lying if I said that I did a lot of deep dives into it, and a lot of stuff just occurred to me in the past 5 days as I was reading things. I hadn't thought of that. I hadn't thought of that. Gee, that's right. I mean, if we like certainty. That's why we have replay. And I guess what I'm wondering, Jason, is, and I mean this with all due respect to baseball fans, but are baseball fans going to be able to digest this in a way where they will allow for the fact that there may not be a huge trail of evidence about some of these things? Like, do you think? See, I think folks our age can. I don't know about the next generation, if they're going to be that patient looking at Josh Gibson or Satchel Paige.
It's a really good question. It's hard to know the answer. Like, we all care about the numbers of baseball, right?
Yes.
It's a really, like, it's a very disconcerting concept that they're adding the seasonal records of the greatest players in Negro League history and really the history of the sport. Okay, they now have become official. And yet, don't go to Baseball Reference and look for the game-by-game account of Josh Gibson's historic season, because it's not there. You literally cannot add up the numbers of the game to get the season totals. That's a really strange concept in the history of baseball research and the history of baseball statistics. Their philosophy is a good one. We're going to concentrate on what we know, and we're not going to obsess about what we don't know. But at a certain point, don't you have to know these things in order to do what they're trying to do? Josh Gibson's Hall of Fame plaque says he hit 800 home runs. More than 600 of them are not going to count. Okay, that's what are we dealing with here?
Yeah,
crazy.
No, that is, but I mean, that's also, I hate to say it, but that's the beauty of a sport that was played in the 1880s, right? I mean, a lot of this stuff was anecdotal. It was passed on to us, right? And
correct.
Like, I love that, but I just say I think I will say this. I think a greater good is served here, and I don't think you can never go wrong serving the greater good. I don't think.
Well, right. Exactly. This is very well intentioned,
but it's still complicated.
Really noble project, and it's important, but it is so complicated. Like, this next phase after what they just did last week, I think it's going to take years.
Yeah.
Years.
Okay, I need your help with the Jays. Okay, the Jays are 12.5 back. They're 2 games under 500. They're 4.5 out of the third wild card spot. It's gotten so bad, Jason, that they put Vladdy at third base for a game. I need your help. We take pride on this show of coming on here and trying to be positive, right? We want to instill positivity throughout the Blue Jays organization. You know, we tell it like it is, but we still want to be positive. We want to, think positive going forward. Help me, because it's been very, very hard to sell positivity with this team. Can you help me try and do it to a Blue Jays fan?
Look, you're talking to a guy. I was so wrong about their team. Right there, it's hard for me to think of a team in the sport that has underperformed what I thought they would be more than this team. Mm-hmm. I remember coming on your show right at the end of spring training and saying I saw the Jays as a top 3 rotation in the sport, top 10 bullpen in the sport, maybe the very best defensive team in the sport, and with an offense that I thought was clearly going to be better than last year. And I was wrong about pretty much all of it. Mm-hmm. I don't even know why you have me on your show. I was so wrong. And so, what do we know now? They're not going to win the East. No. We know that. No. Okay, that's out. They can be a wild card team, but there's a lot to try to make sense of. Health has been a part of it. Obviously, certainly explains a lot of the bullpen issues, but I don't know what to tell you about the offense. It needs to be better. It should be better. And if Vladdy is playing third base, I think it suggests they're desperately searching for some sort of answer to how it can be better. Are those the answers out there? You guys see them every day?
I mean,
I'm starting to wonder.
I think it's just simply Daniel Vogelbach's had a good, pardon me.
His last 3 games, he's 5 for 9 with 4 RBIs.
Yeah, he's had a good 3-game run.
Why and they put Vladdy at third base to get Daniel Vogelbach.
That's where they are. That's where they are. They got because they could put Justin Turner in and have Daniel. I mean, they're essentially it's. Can you hit? Okay, have you hit in the last 3 days? We got a spot.
They don't want to call up a minor leaguer from AAA. They'd rather do this. That's the confusing part too. Yeah, Blair's brought up the point. Why do you have a minor league system? You never bring them up. Right? I mean, you got some guys down there hitting a little bit. Why not use them? They never do that. It's very confusing. That's why I ask a smarter person that could maybe explain it to me of how to stay positive with his team. It's very hard, Jason. It's very, very hard.
This has been a rough couple months.
Yeah,
puzzling couple of months. Think about the way the team was constructed, the philosophy around which they constructed the roster. It was really more about run prevention than offense. Just upgrade the defense, run one of the best defensive teams in the game out there, pair that with what should be one of the best rotations in the sport and what looked on paper to be one of the best bullpens in the sport. And you don't have to hit as much. But that's the run prevention part hasn't been enough. And so now when you go looking for ways to find offense on a roster that wasn't constructed with that in mind, this is what happens. I don't know what's a good answer.
I don't think there is one.
Situation.
Yeah, I don't think there is one.
No, I think they've. Yeah. I think that's really well said. When the one thing you've been able to hang your hat on has been run prevention, and you make a move that weakens that, which Vladdy had 2 ground balls yesterday. It's not that Vladdy's necessarily
over there. It's not going to
butcher at third base. He's got great hands. He's got a good arm. But, man, when you start sort of weakening the stuff you're hanging your hat on to squeeze, an extra base hit, one extra base hit out of things, I am with you guys. It is definitely puzzling. Hey, it's the 2-year anniversary of Rob Thompson. Managing your Phillies. I can say they're your Phillies.
Absolutely.
Managing your Phillies.
Mm-hmm.
how has he changed in your mind as a manager? Has he changed at all? Has there been maybe the correct way? Has there been an evolution in how he runs a game or runs a team to your way of thinking?
This is a really interesting question on a lot of levels. My first thought is, isn't it amazing how few guys like him get hired as manager anymore? And spent his whole career doing every other job on all his teams, almost never got an interview, even when those teams need a manager. And he gets this job, and seeing it up close, because I live in Philadelphia, even though they're not my Phillies.
Oh, they're kind of.
Yeah, everybody says that. I really didn't build the team. I just live here. But anyway, first answer to your question is, it's been incredible to me how comfortable he was in that job from day one, even though nobody would ever let him do that job. Mm-hmm. It's just his personality. Second question, let me just put in perspective for you how good he's been at the job. I helped Matt Gelb, who covers the team for The Athletic, look into this over the weekend. We found that in the expansion era, so we're talking 6 decades, right? Rob Thomson has the best record over his first 333 career games as a manager of anyone who took over any team in midseason and then managed that team for the next 2 years. He's number 1 in that category. So 60 games over 500, that's impressive, man. It's not just some fluky thing that happened just because his timing was good. If you read Matt's piece in The Athletic today, he wrote about Rob Thomson's innate ability to show trust in people. And one thing I've noticed about that is that he shows that trust sometimes without having to say a word. Here's a great example, okay? First month of the season, Nick Castellanos was about as bad a hitter as anybody in baseball for 4 or 5 weeks. He had 1 extra base hit in a month after leading their team in extra base hits last year. But Alec Boehm was hitting cleanup. They wanted to give him a day off. Who hit cleanup that day? Nick Castellanos. And so, I know somebody has to hit 4th, but to me, that's more than just the manager writing a name on the lineup card. Isn't that a very subtle way of telling this player, I know what you've done. I've seen what you've done. I still have trust that you're that guy who did all that guy is still in there. And that's how leaders do what they do. One thing I've seen is Rob Thomson's a natural leader of human beings. That's a big part of his success.
Okay, Jason, you and Jeff have been alive longer than I have. Albert Pujols is the best right-handed hitter.
Like it's a bad thing.
No, this is why I'm asking you this question, because you've seen more right-handed hitters. The best hitter I've ever seen is Barry Bonds to walk earth. That will never change no matter what people think of him. But right-handed hitter, Albert Pujols is the greatest right-handed hitter I've ever seen. 30 and 100, you can consistently say he was doing it 330 and 100. He could do it like nobody's business. But now there's Aaron Judge. And I want to ask you and Jeff, can we start talking about Aaron Judge as being, if not one of, the greatest right-handed hitter that you two and I have ever seen? The things that he does to baseballs.
Albert was that guy for a lot longer period of time.
Yeah. Didn't do it in New York, though.
Yeah, true. Albert, Aaron Judge is not going to hit 600, 700 homers. The calendar is going to work against that.
Yeah.
He's not going to get 3,000 hits. But, in terms of being historically great, 14 homers and 12 doubles in May. Second player in the history of the sport to have 14 homers and 12 doubles in any calendar month. Albert Bell was the other, talking about guys who did it for a period of time, right? But he had more extra base hits in 1 month than Mookie Betts has all season, than Bryce Harper has all season. That's amazing to me. People thought the way he started the season, that maybe he was still feeling the injury from last year and he can never be this guy again. This is 3 years in a row that he has been basically this guy when healthy. And we haven't seen a right-handed hitter who was this guy.
6'7" too.
Ever.
Yeah, 6'7".
I don't think ever.
Yeah.
Playing center field.
Crazy.
Yeah. Look, Willie Mays, Henry Aaron, Miggy, you can make a fun list of the greatest right-handed hitters in history. That's a very partial list. But for a period of time, whatever that period turns out to be, Aaron Judge is more unique. Just a very different and superior skill set than any of them. That's quite a statement, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you've basically summed that up. I would still put Pujols ahead just because of just because of longevity factor. But and I just had someone send me someone much older than me, Barker, and much older than Jason. Believe it or not,
that's why I wanted to ask you too. You've seen more right-handed hitters.
He mentioned Willie Mays, but he also makes the point that I don't think Frank Robinson gets enough love.
I just think the 6'7" Yankees thing is a big deal.
Frank Robinson was a pretty big deal. I mean, I'm just looking at after this guy sent this to me. 10th in the league history with 586 home runs. He won a batting title. He's won a Triple Crown. I mean,
I think if somebody
Frank
said
Robinson
it
was awesome.
Yeah, I think if somebody said Aaron Judge, you couldn't yell and scream about it. Like,
I don't think you'd have
he's
a
in the conversation now, right? Where he does it at, just the optics of every single day. He's 6'7". Like, I used to try and hit with a big swing. I can't imagine having a big swing and adding another foot in height. Like, your eyes away from the strike zone. Like, just the thing. It's mind-boggling with everybody knows you do it, and you still do it at that size. That's why I wanted to ask the conversation, and I know it's a conversation, and it's probably not a good one. But it's still a conversation. I think that's the point.
No, this is the essence of why we love baseball, is we can have these arguments. Absolutely. There's no wrong answers in this one.
No. Yeah. No, and
how about what he did over the weekend, right? He walked into San Francisco for the first time he'd ever played there, grew up there, sat in that park, almost signed there, and got booed every at bat and hit 3 titanic homers in a park where nobody does that.
Yeah. No.
That's a script to write for that. Only great players write.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, and he is
he's a unicorn.
Well, and he really is. We saw him here a couple of years ago when he was chasing that record. He's just so big that he's fun to watch.
Yeah.
Like, he is larger than life and doing larger than life things. So it's
a great way to say it.
That is that's great. I mean, that's baseball.
Yeah,
Jason, thanks for doing this, man.
Great stuff.
As
thanks,
always,
buddy.
be well.
It's good to see you again.
Yeah, great to talk to you guys.
Ciao, Jason.
Nice.
Jayson Stark of The Athletic.
I see you eye rolling me when I brought that up.
No, and then as soon as you did that, and then like I said, this guy texted a longtime listener of the show, Jerry. Shout out Jerry. I'm not gonna say his, shout out Jerry. Just sent this in, and he said you guys are having this debate. He said give Frank Robinson some love.
Yeah, I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm just saying that his size, who he does it for. We talk about the Jays offensive players having expectations. He can't hide, Jeff. Like, his 0 for 4s is not like anybody else's 0 for 4.
Well, and
that's the point. Like, I'm not saying that the other names are not warranted, and you could argue, and the Albert Pujols thing is legit. I'm just saying this dude.
Look at the velocity and everything that he's dealing with, and look at the specialization.
It is crazy. And then you add Juan Soto to the mix, and the contract that he may get, and would you give more to him than you give to the captain? It's a thing, buddy.
We've been giving you, it is.
Yeah.
We've been giving you the chance to win Blue Jays tickets all season long here in Blair and Barker. All you have to do is text the correct answer to our daily baseball trivia question to 590-590. Now, our last trivia question and answer was, this relief pitcher started out his career in San Francisco before arriving to the Blue Jays via trade. After multiple seasons in Toronto, he signed a 1-year deal with Baltimore. Name him. The answer was Jeremy Accardo.
I never got that.
I got
hung
the
out
first
with him
name.
all
I
the time, but
kept
never got that.
Jeremy, and I was trying to think of the last name. Today's question is to win tickets to see the Jays and Orioles at the Rogers Center on June 6th. I would have gotten this one, but it would have taken me. I might have had to cheat. After stealing 40 bases with the Orioles, this player signed with the Blue Jays in 2020, where he played 22 games with Toronto in the COVID-shortened season. Name him. Again, after stealing 40 bases with the Orioles, this player signed with the Blue Jays in 2020, where he played 22 games with Toronto in the COVID-shortened season. Name him. As always, text the answer to 590-590 for your shot to win. See rules at sportsnet.ca/590. I would have had to cheat to get this, and that annoys me but it's almost like, sometimes I find it's almost like that COVID-shortened season didn't happen.
I think some people want to say that because who won the World Series?
That could be.
Yeah, I think they want to put it. They don't want to admit that the Dodgers won the World Series, and it's not real,
it is kind
and it didn't count.
It is kind of,
and they haven't won it around any time around that.
It would be kind of fun, if that was the only World Series they won for a while.
Well, they're not the best team in baseball, and they spend money like they are.
Yeah, no, they have some moves they still need to make. There's not much. There's not much doubt about that.
15 game, buddy.
Buck Martinez is our Blue Jays analyst on Sportsnet. The Orioles are in town for 4 games. It's a big series, even though the calendar's just flipped to June. It is a big series against the Baltimore Orioles. We'll talk to Buck about that. It's Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590, The Fan, and Sportsnet.
You've changed.
I just thought that you would. Shout out to a friend of the show, Tim Hayes.
Love him.
Barker's hometown newspaper.
Yeah.
Sends me a text and says, hey, Hunter Stratton's a Bristol native, Pittsburgh Pirates. Hunter Stratton. So I said to Barker, did you know him? Barker says, you think I know everybody here? I think I know everybody in Bristol. Bristol's a big place, isn't it?
No.
Okay. What's its population? I'm going to check because
not a ton.
It seems to me that every American says they come from a small town, and
not
it's
a
usually
lot.
like 30,000 people.
It's more cows than people.
No,
it's facts. I'm telling you right now. Look it up. It ain't a lot. 100,000.
I grew up in a town of 3,000. Well, 100,000 is not a town.
How many?
17,219.
Okay, so there you go.
I mean, that's a small city. That's not a small town.
Not a city.
It's a small city.
That's a street here.
It says here it's
that's a street.
It says here it's the it says here it's the birthplace of country music.
It absolutely is.
Really?
I think that's false, but
well, that's what it says.
Nashville, Tennessee.
It says that.
Are you sure you're looking up the right thing?
It says
you've been known to type in some wrong stuff.
Well, it says that in the Google machine here, so it's got to be right.
It's never wrong on Google.
Oh,
what did you type in? Say it to me.
Bristol and Virginia.
Why did you put and? Just put Bristol, Virginia.
I put and in.
Yeah. What?
Anyhow.
Okay.
Now, okay. The Kingsport Bristol metropolitan area is 307,614.
Yeah, it's like the Gecko commercial where he holds his leg up and he's in Tennessee. He puts it down, he's in Virginia. Like you walk across the street, Tennessee, Virginia. It's the beauty. I didn't grow up in either one of those, so I don't even know why you're looking it up. Well, I grew up in Mendota, Virginia, which is like 1,000 people.
Mendota?
Yeah, which is like 35 minutes from Bristol, Virginia, but nobody in their right mind would know where Mendota, Virginia is.
Just waiting for Buck to
So I always say, where you from? I'm from where the raceway's at? The Bristol Raceway. That's where I'm from, because nobody ever would know where Mendota, Virginia is at.
It says here that Mendota
Kentucky
is an unincorporated village. It's in Washington County. There's a medical clinic there, a post office, 2 churches, and several residences, but no market or gas station.
Mm-mm. You have to drive to Bristol.
It is widely recognized as the hawk capital of the world.
How many people?
Doesn't say.
Good.
No, it doesn't say. But again, this is the Google machine.
That means there's not enough to count.
I don't know about that. Anyhow.
That's where I grew up.
7:07 is the first pitch tonight. The main street, there's not much going on there. I'm just
told you. It's kind of nice every once in a while not to have a stop sign or a stoplight or, honking at you or, you wave at your neighbor. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Have a quality day, neighbor.
Clinch Mountain and the Holston River. Did you know
that more the old number one sign? You're number one too.
Did you know that more than 16 species of raptors soar down the spine of the Clinch Mountain every autumn?
Yeah, I knew
for the winter along the Appalachian Flyway. Huh? You ever climb up the Mendota fire tower?
Absolutely.
I figured.
Can see it from my parents' house.
I figured. Anyhow, we're going to be joined in a few minutes by Buck Buck is there. I see it. Very pleased to be joined by Buck Martinez. Buck, thank you for joining us today. I was just reading a little bit about Kevin Barker's hometown.
Yeah,
it's
it's country, right?
Absolutely.
16 species of hawks. That's quite amazing.
Okay. You guys are really bored, huh?
Yeah. It's we're trying to stay positive, around the Blue Jays.
One of us
and
is.
this is what we're doing.
One of us is.
Okay.
Buck, Vladdy at third base. Now, tonight he's back at first base. Vladdy at third base. What was your initial reaction when you saw the lineup card?
I was surprised that they hadn't tried something sooner.
Okay.
Things have been kind of stagnant offensively, and it was worth a shot. And I think they got the desired results. They got Bogey going a little bit. Vladdy made a couple of plays, and everybody came out of it fine.
Any bright spot?
At this point,
sorry, Buck. Go ahead.
I think at this point, you can roll the dice and do anything you want because the offense has been so inconsistent. And there's nobody in the clubhouse that can bitch about it. Nobody can complain about it because nobody's produced. So I think as a manager, offensively, you can say, hey, this is what we're going to do. I'm trying to score some runs.
Buck, do you think there's any chance that Bo would calm down his approach at the plate, swing at his pitch more often?
Kevin, I just talked to him about that, and he said, I had a real good stretch before those 3 games against the Pirates, and I had a bad 3 games. He said, I'm not concerned, and it just looks bad when he takes those wild swings, but overall he's been swinging the bat well. And it's just like, you and I both know this. We were never the caliber hitter that Bo was.
Nope.
And Bo swings wildly, and he's a swinger. He's going to get his hits swinging, and sometimes it's going to look ugly. Sometimes he's going to take some ugly swings, and sometimes those ugly swings are going to produce big hits. But, I don't think he's concerned about where he's at. He's always hit well against the Orioles, and I wouldn't be surprised if it comes out again tonight.
Buck, do you see anything with Justin Turner that would tell you he's turning the corner? Last 18 games ain't been real good. It's Barker-esque. Any chance you think that maybe, he could start, again, that collision thing he does in his lower half, Buck, is not the easiest thing to do, right? Head's moving a lot. He's gaining a lot of ground with that lower half, that front foot before it hits the ground. Barrel's playing catch up a ton. But, again, he's been doing it forever. Anything you're seeing that may help him or tell you that he might be coming out of this and could help the team score a few more runs?
I think what they're going to have to do is kind of pick the matchups. And now if Bogey can continue to swing the bat, maybe they can match him up in better situations for himself. But, I think it all started when he was sick in Baltimore, and he felt like he wasn't strong enough, so he got more of his body involved than this is necessary. And now it's just kind of creeped into a habit. But Don Mattingly, in my conversation with him around the cage, said he feels like the last 5 days the swings have been much better, and he's much more encouraged. But I think they're going to have to pay attention. That fastball away has given him a lot of trouble, and he's playing catch-up with that. And when you try to manufacture a swing instead of trust your hands to get the bat to the ball, it's going to create problems. And I think Manning was encouraged by what he's seen lately, and I think they're going to pay more attention to matching him up to suitable matchups for him to have Turner come out of it a little bit, start swinging the bat better.
Buck, you mentioned Mattingly. How's he handling all this? He's a great hitter. I've been around great hitters. Sometimes they don't handle failure real well. I mean, I know Donnie Baseball's a super nice dude, and, he'll talk to any hitter about anything offensively that he wants to talk about. But again, it's that thing, right? When you used to be a great hitter, why are you having trouble getting out of this? How do you think he's been handling that part of it and just trying to get this lineup, where I think everybody wants them to be?
I think the biggest thing he understands is his players aren't Don Mattingly. And Don Mattingly was a special player, and he could do things that other people couldn't do. I think, Frank Robinson was a great hitter himself. He wasn't the most prolific hitting coach. And there have been a lot of guys like that, like Eddie Murray, that were great hitters that couldn't teach hitting. I think Donnie can teach hitting, and I think he's kept in the even plane, just recognizing what his hitters have to do to be successful. And more than anything, what he said to me just a while ago was, you've got to hit the pitches you're supposed to hit. And when you foul them off, those pitches are supposed to end the at-bat. You're supposed to not foul them off and put them in play. So he knows that, he's kept an even keel through all this. He's not frustrated by any of it. He just keeps working and trying to get the guys to understand, when you get that pitch that you're supposed to hit, you better hit it. And he talked about Varsho the last couple of days, missing a couple of sliders that were right in his wheelhouse. He had a good swing, but he fouled them back. He said, those are the pitches you can't afford to miss. And he's trying to get the guys to understand that you've got to be ready for that pitch. When it is where you want it, you got to square it up.
Buck, we know that Jordan Romano is going to be out at least for a little while, that Jimmy Garcia is going to get the lion's share of the work in the ninth inning. But how do you think John Schneider plays it on the nights Jimmy isn't available?
I think Chad Green will be in the mix. I think, there's a chance even that Nate Pearson could be in the mix, the way Nate has kind of evolved here lately. He's really developed a lot of confidence in his slider where he can throw that, and the numbers suggest that it's been his most effective pitch. So, you can't really sit back and worry about what you don't have. You have to evaluate what you have and try to put them in the best situations, and I think John will do that. Garcia is going to be the guy the most often that he goes to. There's no doubt about that. But I think Chad Green, who's capable, and I think Nate Pearson can step up if needed as well.
Are you worried about Kevin Gausman's velocity? I know it's been sort of sporadic, maybe not the last couple of starts, but, it's been a little all over the place. I know he's told Hazel and Arden a couple of times that there will be occasion where, he'll be fish-eyeing the scoreboard to see how hard he's throwing. Any worry about that? Buck, he's going to need that against this lineup, right? I know he's tried to add the two-seamer, sinker thing, whatever you want to call that, the change of speeds with the split finger and try not to get it to break as much, keep it in the zone. But, boy, he needs that consistent velocity. You think he's going to have that tonight in his start?
No, I don't know that you can ever predict what guy's going to have from night to night, and I think that's been the case with all starters, even in the early part of their career. But, we just kind of have to wait and see, and I think he's aware of that now and knows that if it's not there, you can't force it. You just got to continue to make pitches the way that Bassett did yesterday, and he just kept making pitches and kept stranding base runners, and that's all you can do. For years we've talked about starters making 35 to 40 starts years ago, and they would have their best stuff maybe 8 or 9 times a season. So it's always not going to be at the top of the velocity level, but you just got to understand how to pitch with it. And I think the quicker you recognize that in the course of a game, then you're going to have success. Just don't try to bang your head against the wall and say, I got to throw 98. If it's not there, don't expect it to be there and make pitches with your other pitches.
Buck, it sure would be nice to see Vladdy starting to hit more homers. Sometimes I think you don't worry about it. A home run hitter, yeah, we all know that home runs come in bunches, but dang, Buck, it's been almost 60 games. He's got 5 homers. Is there anything you're seeing with him that, maybe move around the batter's box more? I know he did that a little bit to free him up, to get him to stop swinging at the ball in off the plate, to, sort of help him not to ground out to the left side of the infield. But, man alive, 60 games a lot and only having 5 homers. Is there anything you're seeing that maybe give a Jays fan hope that he'll start hitting some more homers?
Well, you know me, I'm not a big extra velocity guy. I want to see results. So I don't care how hard you hit the ball. You got to get the ball in the air once in a while. And, I think nobody works as hard as Vladdy, and we've heard that, how many times we've heard about the process. We like the process. We like what's going on. We need results. Yeah. Now's the time you need W's. It doesn't make any difference. And I'm sure that, Vladdy's trying to get the ball in the air. You watch him in BP, and that's not an issue. But I think when he gets in the game, he puts a little bit too much pressure on himself. He doesn't understand that pitcher's in the same jam he's in. And if you just relax a little bit more and let his hands take care of that, he might get a little more lift in the baseball. But, his average is fine. But like you say, he's got to produce. He's a run producer. We need more runs, and we need more home runs, and hopefully that'll come sooner than later.
Buck, as a former manager, what impresses you the most about Brandon Hyde?
His patience, his understanding of his characters. He knows his team. He's unusual in that he went through the 100-loss seasons and survived. Mm-hmm. So that tells you a lot of what the organization thinks about him. But he's a no-nonsense guy. He's not a rah-rah guy by any means, but everybody knows what he expects of them. And he's also got some pretty damn good players. I think that makes the manager pretty good, too. But he understands that. And, they're going to be tested a little bit here in this next stretch with their pitching down. They lost 2 pitchers, and they've got Kramer on the IL right now, and they're going to have to do some patchwork. But, he's confident of his team. And I think, they need a little help in the bullpen, and I wouldn't be surprised if they go out and try to fortify that bullpen because they've been pitching a lot. Their starters don't go deep into a game. But I think his ability to put everybody in a good situation to succeed, and he lets the young players play. He understands they're very good players, they're very good teammates, and he just runs them out there every single day.
Buck, we're going to let you run, man. Great of you to do this. Thanks so much, and we'll look forward to your call tonight. Be well.
Buck.
Oh, hopefully we'll have a good one tonight, boys.
Fingers crossed.
Be with you.
Absolutely, Buck Martinez. Blue Jays.
It is the $1 million question. Look, I never faced pitching like this, and my name was never Guerrero Jr. on the back of my jersey, but man alive. There is long periods of going through it. And then there's this. That dude got 5 homers. He ain't in the top 50 in total bases in baseball. Every once in a while, it's got to be a little where you go home and look in the mirror and go, look, dude, but I'm trying to get paid. I don't care what average-wise. I don't care what he's hitting.
No. But you don't think Vladdy's done that?
I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure
I have no idea. I'm sure he has, but it's a big sample size of this, buddy. Where the we're getting to talking like the 17 hopper to right with the runner on third and less than 2 outs. You see how excited he was?
Yeah.
I'm all for results and, let's be happy. And, the Khakis just beat us to death with the hard hit percentage. And look, there's hard hit percentage for dudes like me who needed it. Like I needed to hear that. Come and tell me all that. I need all the positive energy I can get. And then there's the meat of the order dudes that should never hear it. Never come to me. It's results driven. I want to punch baseballs to the moon. And when I ain't doing it, why am I not doing it? Vladdy ain't doing it. He got 2 home runs since April 27th with 16 RBIs. That's what Barker did. Barker could do that now in his 40s. That's all I'm saying. Look, I don't know. It's for them to go anywhere they want to go in their season, that can't continue. It's obvious the organization ain't going to go out and make that aha move. Now we roll move. So it's up to Vladdy and other people. And until Vladdy starts hitting some more homers and driving in more runs, they'll be 9-7 against teams under 500.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I got nothing.
I don't think they do either. It's like that when Alex Anthopoulos came on and I asked him, why isn't your team hitting more homers? And he said, if I knew the answer, I'd go tell him. You don't think? I'm sure that's the Vladdy thing now. If they had the answer, they'd go tell him.
Yeah, we talked about this ad nauseum, but he's had different hitting coaches. They've tried everything with him.
He's old enough, been in the big leagues long enough now to say no. Get away from me. I don't like that.
This is what I'm saying, though. It's if there was something, if you could look at the guy and go, God, he's so lazy, but he's not. And it is puzzling that, and I almost feel guilty when I say, okay, the minor league ballparks may have had something to do with it. And of course, you can pull out numbers at exit velo and yada yada, et cetera, and that makes you think, okay, maybe that's not completely fair.
Hitting the home run the other way, that's fair. He hit a bunch of home runs the other way, which added to the 40, however many he hit. He hit like 17 that year the other way. When's the last time you've seen him backspin a homer to right center at the Rogers Center?
Well, Travis,
I'm sure
of the Score, who's
but it's been a long time.
Terrific writer, that wrote a piece recently about the Rogers Center. And anytime you talk to Ross about the Rogers Center, you kind of get it's too early to tell, small sample size, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But, man, it really does seem as if it sucks home runs.
Do you think he's changed his swing, his approach to not hit the ball in the air?
Vladdy?
Yeah, because of the Rogers Center.
I mean, I'll tell you, he could be excused if he did that.
How will we ever know that?
I don't know, but he could.
I went and
wouldn't you? I mean,
I went and asked the source that question, and he said, and the person that has the locker right beside that person who plays shortstop said, when he hits him, he could play in Yellowstone. So they seem to think the park means absolutely nothing, and if they're saying it, I'm not going to make that an excuse.
No, it's just not in their head. Don't put it in their head.
It's just a little confusing why that, again, I'm not saying he's having a bad year. He's having an okay year. It's just the longevity of not doing a part of his game. It goes on forever.
Yeah.
Why is that? Like when the individuals on this team struggle, they fall off cliffs. They just don't walk down the cliff. They fall off it. Like, why? Like Turner, the last 18 games is hitting .83. Yeah. Like, he's been around forever. Why is that? Well, why did the slumps last forever? It's not like they're short. Like, you'll go 3 or 4 games where back hurts, my foot hurts, I'm old, my head hurts, I got a headache, I got to fight with my wife. Like, it's not happening right. I show up the yard, I'm chapped. Like, I don't like that guy's pitch, and it throws me out of whack, and mechanically I'm not there, and then it puts me in a funk for 4 days. And then there's these things. Yeah. It's 18 games worth of, it's very confusing, Jeff. I just don't understand that part of it. I know pitching's really good, but these hitters aren't awful. They're good, too. They've been around forever.
And the point is,
that's all.
Offensive numbers are down in baseball, but there's down and then there's down.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Yeah.
The Orioles are in town for 4 games.
And I could hit a couple of homers, too. Believe it.
7:07 is the first pitch tonight. We'll be doing Blue Jays talk following the game. We'll be back here tomorrow. Let's make it a winning edition of Blue Jays talk tonight. Let's get back to 500. Then we can start all over again.
Well, they got to win the next day, too, to get back to 500. So it's two games in a row today.
Enjoy the baseball. We'll chat tomorrow.